What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about The Northman. Directed by Robert Eggers, who wrote the film alongside Sir John, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, inspired by the tale as old as time known as Hamlet, starring people like Alexander Skarsgård, Anya Taylor-Joy, Ethan Hawke, Nicole Kidman, Claes and many others. The Northman is a brand new film that just came out that is a big Viking epic, and yeah, I was really looking forward to this film. I'll say just right now that this was actually one of my most anticipated films for the year, and the question is it good? For me, it was. I had a lot of fun with it, but I did see it with two other people, my mom and my fiance, and the two of them were kind of torn on it. They didn't really love it, and I think all of us kind of had the consensus that this was a film that felt a little over long. I think that they definitely felt that way more than me, but I can definitely agree with that right out of the gate. This is a film I enjoyed a lot about, but I do have some criticisms on, but I do have some big praises, and I'm going to try to keep this review a little shorter because I have a bit of a headache. But what I can say about The Northman right out of the gate is that I found this to be an incredibly well directed and well put together film, but like I mentioned just a moment ago, I do think this film is way longer than it needs to be. It comes in at about 2 hours and 16 minutes, which is actually a few minutes shorter than the movie I watched last night, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which honestly felt like a movie that I could have watched twice within the runtime of this movie, and I think that just goes down to the pacing. This is a movie that is in a lot of ways a slow burn. As I mentioned in the intro, this is inspired by the story of Hamlet. So if you've ever seen any iteration of the story of Hamlet or something like The Lion King, then you've seen this story before. You have a young prince whose father is killed by his uncle, and now he's going to spend the rest of the film preparing to exact his revenge. And of course, like every iteration that's ever taken inspiration from Hamlet, this movie has its own identity, bringing a lot of the Norse mythology and a lot of the elements around the Vikings into this movie. And I think to a degree it may turn some people off. This movie does, a really good job of balancing, for the most part, a really grounded Viking film while also leaning heavily into the mythological element of the Norse mythology and the various gods and rituals and things that they kind of had as a part of their customs and their religions and their overall way of living. And so there was an element about this that I definitely enjoyed when I was watching the film. I really enjoyed seeing all of these actors commit to really big over-the-top moments that, if you don't have the right direction, if you don't have the right cinematography and music around these moments, it could definitely be really cringe moments from some of these incredibly talented actors who have been in so many things, who are having to kind of humiliate themselves to give really compelling, committed performances. Thankfully, though, I think Eggers directs a film that really understands what it is and understands what it needs to be. This is a film that's part fantastical while also being like a period piece kind of film, and I think for the most part this film does a really great job when it comes to its production value and all of its actors really selling you on where we are in the timeline of life. You definitely feel like you are in the age of Vikings. You definitely feel that very visceral, almost beastly nature to the way that they were, and I really enjoyed that element about this film. Alexander Skarsgård plays the leading role in the film, and I thought he did a fantastic job in the film. He got jacked for the movie, which was one of the coolest things to see in this film, is all the dudes that just got completely jacked, and there were so many great action sequences where you just see these men out there just being overly masculine, just fucking people up. And I can't lie, I honestly just wanted to come home and get jacked myself so I could look just like that. But honestly, outside of jokes, I genuinely enjoyed a lot of the action, the visuals of this film. Like I said, I think the production value is top notch from beginning to end. The performances really get you honed in on everything going on, even if not every moment works, even if not every character works, even if a lot of characters feel like they didn't get a whole lot of screen time and aren't super fleshed out. I think everybody who does show up on screen does come to play, and I did really thoroughly enjoy the performances of this film. The practical effects as well are really well done, and there's a great use of actual practical locations. A lot of the areas that they filmed were actual locations and settings, which I thought was fantastic. But of course, with any big picture like this, any sort of big epic film, you're gonna have plenty of digital effects and digital backgrounds and areas and locations that you can tell they actually couldn't take the actors to, but for the most part, I think the digital effects and the practical effects work together to make a really seamless, really tight looking film. And I think my biggest issue with this film genuinely is the length of the film. The film, for me, in terms of its length, isn't any longer than a lot of other movies that I watch all the time, but genuinely for me, it feels like it didn't need to be this long. With that said, I did enjoy the little moments, I did enjoy those character beats, and even though there were a lot of scenes that I probably would have cut out, or scenes that felt like they dragged on for too long, they were so well made and so well acted that I couldn't help but enjoy whatever character development and character growth and story development I was getting from these scenes. With that said though, I think there is an element of this film that sometimes feels like it ends multiple times. It felt like the movie had ended or was about to end 2 or 3 times in the film leading up to the very end, where I kept thinking, oh, this is the final moment, this is the final action sequence, and then ultimately the movie would just keep going on and maybe go straight into another slow moment. And so the main thing I kept thinking to myself while I was watching the movie is, this is a lot slower than I would think it should be or that I want it to be, and I can definitely see that being a turnoff for a lot of people. I have spoken to a few individuals already who saw the film and definitely agreed with that element of the film, and so I do think that slower pacing and that kind of slow burn feel throughout the course of the film is going to turn off some viewers, but ultimately I think I really enjoyed it. I think I'm going to be one of those that's definitely more on the positive side of this film, simply because even though it is too long at times, even though it does feel like it drags at times, I do think all of those scenes that I mentioned are still kind of crucial to the film in terms of where it ends up going. Of course, you could have rewritten certain elements and kind of removed some elements, but for the most part, I think that even those scenes that feel like they drag out do inform who these characters are and inform where they're going with the story for the most part. But you know, even with the length of this film and how slow it is, there are still a couple of elements that I feel would have kind of benefited from being expanded upon a little bit more. And I definitely can't continue this review without talking about the cinematography by Jaron Blaschke, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Yeah, the way that this film was shot was fantastic. There's a subtle use of just very kind of straightforward camera work at times that feels a little bit old school, where at other times in the film there's something that is so visceral and really it moves with the characters and it moves with the action in such a cool way that in a lot of ways it just is kind of a character in the film in and of itself. And then I definitely have to praise the 2 composers of this film. You have Robin Carolyn as well as Sebastian Gainsborough, and I thought the 2 of them did a fantastic job. The music in this film is pivotal to these moments really working. There's so many moments where the music kind of comes up in crescendos and is very subtle, and so many moments throughout the course of the film. The impact of what's happening, the impact of the dialogue, the impact of the action, or the impact of really silent, quiet moments all really hone in on the score. And so I definitely have to praise everybody really who worked on this film on a technical element. And I think that Robert Eggers really shows that he's a fantastic director who is able to contain a vision into a film and really, you know, sell that vision overall by the time the movie is over. Even if this movie doesn't work for everyone, I don't think that his filmography has really shown him to be somebody who cares for that. He wants to make films that feel very different and also have their own identity, and for the most part I think that he's really succeeded in that when you look back at his filmography. So I'm going to wrap this up here. Definitely can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. I don't think that this is a film that's going to work for everybody. This was one of my most anticipated films for the year, and I can happily say that I still really enjoyed it, even if it didn't necessarily meet the expectations that I was hoping for it. But I still think this is one of the best made films that I've seen in theaters this year, even if it isn't one of the most entertaining films that I've seen in theaters this year. So that's going to be my thoughts on The Northman. Definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. So as usual, please leave a comment down below. Did you like this movie? Did you not like this movie? Hit that like button if you guys enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.